Imagine, like I've said, that we are within a game that is played by inserting our souls as credit. Those who know this shift their allegiance with the star of the age and are rewarded with gifts for their compliance. But what if now the hardest level is a time of universal corruption and deceit? What then? There are certain ancient practices that the rich and powerful in Rome did that are carried through to today's elite on private islands, which bear no repeating, but to them, they are engaged in worship. To whom comes the question, because everyone with religious intent believes their version of the man upstairs is correct, and it's the others who pray to a deception. It's a tricky topic, that much is for certain, and with no disrespect, because most people have such limited vision that they very rarely check the small print, cross-reference practices, and search for missing links. Maybe that is what faith is to the faithful. I have a different lens, because if I was gifted with the ability to reason and deduce, then nothing is to be accepted on the surface level without reality testing to satisfaction, correct? After all, this is the innate state of every child that steps in before it's trained out of them. So I have that tick in a column which makes me feel I'm, at least, facing in the right direction. If you knew the battles I'd fought, and am still fighting, to get to my current position, you may comprehend what I've said is expressed with an intent that is entirely honest and simply craves nothing else but liberation, with the side effect of helping those who I can in my final journey through this realm. It's a humbling thought once you finally comprehend that not only your friends but family members want you dead, because you refuse to deviate from your mission, which is nothing less than total freedom. And yet, throughout all of this and the various attempts to harm and damage, I'm still relatively unscathed, thanks to the protection afforded to me by the all of everything that has no name, faith, or creed, because it is you, and ye are she. Even that is a stretch, because this realm is built around opposites, and of what I'm speaking is akin to the quiet point in the mid around which the yin-yang spins. Dig? Can you hear the silence? Therein lies the contradiction that many can't comprehend, as the quest for freedom means you'll start off carrying a heavy burden, as all debts and balances of this realm must be settled in order for the true exodus to begin. This is not a gift that is given, but a choice that is made. Buddhist tale speaks of this, as here was a man born into wealth and privilege and turned his back on it in order to attain liberation. In many ways, we all have to select one of these days, and thus many of the faith that is little more than lip service with a random donation and showing up now and then as they rally behind a symbol and tick a box on the census simply won't make it. And that's okay. They are here for worldly things, and their creed was simply a part of the window dressing, because if you ask them to be honest, they'll tell their lives' focus was on other things. They may have wanted to be rich, powerful, adored by people, seen as a good provider, or better of many women, and countless other things. These are, at the end and beginning, the simple whims of the egoic construction known as the false self. Its presence is akin to a condom which gets in the middle of all the friction in order to prevent the realization of what happens without its interruption in the spiritual sense. Thing is, this is something into which you've grown, hence the whole second nature thing, and thus most people cannot imagine life without the mask on their dish, and what's buried beneath scares the crap out of them. This is where the warrior treads, as the path of power is all about turning your senses within. In that respect, there are two ways to face hardship in this realm. One begins to deny, rage, or wail. Either way, there is an avoidance attempt, whereas the other crushes that hot coal without flinching and then marvels at the diamond that is now present. Like I said, This is the game on its hardest level, hence why the world is how it is, because the meat market is filled to the gills with the finest products which are available and cater to all tastes and whims, because when deception is for sale, the waiting list is immense for those who are afraid to do the knowledge. Let me ask you something. Let's pretend you whip up an ant colony and place it on the shelf. To those trapped within, you could posit that you are a god to them, correct? After all, you could nourish them or bring the whole thing to an end. But what if one of these insects turned to his countrymen and said, "There is this world which was built on artificial limits by a kid for his science project, but outside of this, there is another reality which is based on a totally different octave, and what creates, maintains, and sustains is the truth eternal." How do you think they'd take it? Would they feel it's blasphemous to even suggest such a thing? Be honest. Thing is, from our current perspective, it is just like this. Because logic would dictate that for their immediate survival, if they were inclined to pray, it should be to the one who got them into this mess as it sits on the shelf. Correct? But that, in the end, can only bring them straight back to this matrix, as they haven't glimpsed past its limits in order to obtain gnosis. The one who did and made the above statement must have had his reasons for saying such things, yes? What would you do if you were him? Keep it quiet and bow your head with the rest? Or get to rabble-rousing and hope they don't nail you to the insect equivalent of a crucifix, then distort your image for the new religion which is based around an inversion of what you said in order to keep the rest plugged in with a hope of false salvation that will never, ever manifest, because what they are seeking for in the end is themselves. Woo! That's a hefty topic, and I don't talk it, but live it. Knowing the ledge isn't the thing for everyone, hence only 8% are truly capable of decoding the wavelength I'm presenting. The rest may entertain or shut it down without consideration, whilst many will not even have the faintest clue and even less inclination to process the message and its implications. Is there an easier way? If there were, would I take it? Let me tell you why I don't like organized religions and cliques and believe that spiritual development is a fiercely private thing in which you are your guide and also your only student. It always starts with good intent. There is a man who simply can't rest and wants to find answers. Whether or not this actually happened or not is irrelevant, as many adepts will attest at the power of a historical fib as a symbol to point at the underlying truth that awaits their realization. More often than not, the genesis of all of this is a series of errors and missteps that end up becoming the teachings, as one who knows what not to do has a far greater clue than those who have never committed, then revise their direction as they begin to comprehend the winds weren't blowing them in the direction they intended. For those that step right in after commodification, this feature is totally absent as, "How dare you contradict what our prophet said and did?" becomes the dictum, and what was once a tool for liberation is now used best for oppression and groupthink. Ironic, isn't it? And yet, that is exactly how it is, even if they don't want to admit it. Take another look at what I said about cargo cults and the innate state of reverence and worship that seems to be wired in to the human brain, along with a tendency for magical thinking, and the priest class that steps in to show the way to the rest. Some of them may be honest, others reek of corruption. I'll let you sort the doves from the pigeons in fancy dress. May the truth protect me in all ways is my most humble request, because it's been a long, long time coming, but now I feel I'm able to carry on with my mission for liberation. It requested nothing less than the total violation of my identity and concepts. Can you imagine how that felt? It is one thing knowing you accepted the challenge and are striding along the path of power to self-actualization, but another to be a kid and wonder what the hell is happening as you live in the midst of psycho-spiritual fire and brimstone that doesn't relent, and queues of people waiting for their pound of flesh that extract with a malicious grin as they leave a cryptic message about their association and past life incarnations. This is why I refuse to align with any cliques. Let me show you something metaphysic. I want you to pretend that there is a pot called imaginary investment. Remember, in this realm thoughts are things, so you can think it's like a money pit into which people place donations, except we're skipping the step of money that was printed and backed by nothing, ergo technically worthless beyond what it reps as a symbol based on mutual agreement, and jump straight into the transfer of energies. Let's say we have a group of shiny happy people who sing joy joy songs and are generally decent that rally around behind a symbol. That becomes the bank because mind is everything, and after a while it shall become sentient. A cloud of consciousness based on constant investment that is charged with the do's and don'ts of the group that created it. New kids are born and they connect to it, and it loops around their consciousness. This is why, my friend, we have Apple and Android loyalists. New dress, old devils that change with the ages, but the base code is identical. Now, by the very nature of things, they need to be fed sustenance, and thus you could say they are the original artificial intelligence that silicon is currently emulating. Who knows, maybe these old scripts were hidden inside what we call hallucinogens, like magic mushrooms and such things, because there is a curious link between the network patterns and how they can induce changes in consciousness, but that is another topic. Now, let's say you have a group of people that have one intent. They want total, unquestioned domination of this realm. Gods in the flesh, in other words. Now, before you ask, yes, such things are possible, and I'll let you tell if they're happening, because there is a reason they say the devil is in the details, because enough lies arranged as genuine can fool most of the people a lot of the time, but those who aren't drawn in are then seen as a threat to the system, which mobilizes its agents via the grip that exists on their awareness because, surprise, they coded the internal OS that runs inside their consciousness. Run that back again. Let it marinate a bit, because it can be a bit much to digest for those who've never pondered at depth what it truly means to be human, or why this alien ant farm is how it is. Let's say they pull it off and draw a world over the heads of those who step in with some slick hoodwinking and manipulation that they all take for granted. What then? Why, you will be a god, my friend, or at least a pretty good approximation, like the man who would be king, yes? Remember the rules though. No women and no drinking, because these two can bring a nearly endless string of problems. Thing is, the daughters of man are mad attractive as they shake that thing, and temptation comes calling, so they play the role to the hilt. It was all good, till it wasn't. How do you think the populace felt when they comprehended the finesse and how these petty-minded thieves actually had totally different intentions from what they presented before they got drunk on their own hype and believed what they were shoveling? It's a tale as old as the empire itself, literally. Anyway, I say that to say this. The aforementioned imaginary investment is still in full effect. Human, animal, child sacrifice, you name it, they've done it, in order to ensure their egregore is the most powerful. The world as it stands is various factions of this team duking it out amongst themselves after the scheme fractured, and this is what kicks when two tribes go to war and everyone else is caught up in the skirmish, as they sit in the tent at a distance, eating cucumber sandwiches and directing the bloodshed. If you can truly comprehend what I've just said, then congratulations, you're doing the knowledge, and this means that you too will soon be seen as a threat. So it's of interest to notice how your friends and family take it when you start awakening, because that which acts through them will want to lull you back into the resonance, and that, my friend, is how my old chums and kin conspired to do me in, and their reasons for it. May the truth protect me in all ways, as the ultimate liberation is all I'm seeking, and that means no shackles, no oaths, no commitments, because you can't be freed when you keep binding, and thus it's a solo sport in the end, because we all have our own wavelength, and thus our own emancipation. Comprehend? If you play your part, they'll reward you well, but in the end, that vanity is all just pomp and splendor for the false self, which itself is nothing more or less than an emanation of the thought form they built, ergo a game within a game, or a trick wrapped in the same, and thus the levels of deception are never ending, as they've had ages refining this. Ergo, get free or thrive trying is the only mindset needed in the quest for liberation. Till we meet again.